We all have an opinion about Israel. We do not comment on other conflicts in the world unless we start studying. We are living a conflict between Hamas, which governs the Gaza Strip, and the State of Israel. On the one hand, there is Hamas, a group that murders civilians on purpose to achieve political objectives in a propaganda framework. This is the classic definition of terrorism. However much some journalists pamper this jihadism by tucking them in with a Hamas militant. Being a terrorist group violates more than 20 international conventions. Financing terrorist groups is a crime. Disguising yourself as a civilian to do military actions is a violation of international law, which must be complied with by states as well as non-state armed groups. Shooting at civilians on purpose violates the law of war. Launching rockets from civilian buildings or hiding weapons in schools transforms a hospital into a legal military target, and it is the fault of those who place their central command in the basement of Gaza's Shifa hospital. The rules are crystal clear. Using your civilians as human shields is another violation of international law. Hamas is an international criminal. Hamas commits war crimes. However, many people prefer to focus on the actions of the Israeli army. They say that they expect a democratic state to behave in an untainted manner. Israel is accused of excessive use of force or violating the principle of proportionality. The Hague Convention of 1907 indicates that the right of belligerents to adopt means to harm the enemy is not unlimited. The law is clear. To be legal, Israel is not obliged to use the same force that Hamas used. It does not have to rape women, slit babies' throats, or kidnap old women. The force does not have to be equivalent or symmetrical. What the law says is that an army must use whatever means necessary to accomplish military objectives based on the law. International law is not a suicide pact. It gives states the inherent right to self-defense, i.e., allowing Israel to militarily eliminate Hamas is totally legal. To defend itself, Israel must make every effort to produce as little collateral damage as possible. For example, if a Hamas terrorist deliberately surrounds himself with 20 women and children and Israeli aircraft target him, the targeted attack is aborted because the collateral damage is not proportional to the threat posed by the terrorist at the time. Let's be clear, the Hamas leader is a legal target. To maintain such proportionality, Israeli legal advisors film the event and confirm that an action is proportional to avoid unnecessary loss of life. Israel asks Palestinian civilians to move south, leaflets them and sends them text messages. It is the only army in the world that warns its enemies that it is going to attack them. If a civilian building becomes a military target, they mark it with a bomb that falls on the roof but does not explode. Like when they bombed the press building in 2021, there they gave them 1 hour to take the equipment. While journalists were broadcasting that Hamas was blowing up the intermediate floors to make missiles. Did the journalists not find out what Hamas was doing? To illuminate combat zones, armies use white phosphorus bombs. It's legal. You can't deliberately throw white phosphorus at human beings because you would violate the law. The problem is that Israel has been lighting up combat zones since 2009 without using white phosphorus, and it didn't deliberately fire white phosphorus at Palestinians either. The fact that Israel makes mammoth efforts to respect the laws of war does not mean that military mistakes do not occur. Israel makes far fewer mistakes than other Western armies fighting jihadists, and when it does make mistakes, we should angrily demand that it take responsibility. Moreover, war crimes are not assessed on the basis of casualty numbers provided to journalists by the terrorist group Hamas, nor is it measured by emotional images of destroyed buildings. These kinds of arguments are valid for a coffee chat, but in a court of law, a professional judge would order you to review this video again. Hamas routinely commits war crimes. Israel has all the means to commit worse war crimes, and yet has no intention of transforming itself into the very evil it is fighting. About Israel, we all have an opinion. It is time to start arguing based on facts.